Join us on the program right now, Steve Holbrook, Second Amendment attorney and scholar. And Steve, good evening, sir. Thanks for coming on the program tonight.
My pleasure, as always.
So it's hard to believe, Steve, that it has been 5 years since Hurricane Katrina roared ashore and changed the lives of so many people in the Gulf, including a number of New Orleans residents who were lawful gun owners who were told that they weren't going to be allowed to keep possession of their firearms, even as law and order was breaking down.
Yeah, they weren't just told that. They were interrupted at gunpoint while they were trying to escape in their cars and boats, walking. Police drove up to their places of businesses that they were guarding and pointed M16s at them and said, "Do you have any guns? We're taking them if you do." They turned a bad dream into a nightmare. Epitomized by the police chief's announcement, only law enforcement will be able to have guns, and no civilians can have guns. We went to court immediately, right between Hurricane Katrina and Hurricane Rita, NRA did, and we got a preliminary injunction against enforcement of that. New Orleans denied they were doing it, but then they said they would quit doing it. Lawyer talk, in other words.
Yeah.
We litigated the case. New Orleans argued that the Second Amendment does not apply to states and localities. And here's a phenomenal thing that's worth remembering that nobody's even talked about yet. In 2006, we got a ruling from U.S. District Judge Barbier that the Second Amendment not only is an individual right, but it applies to states and localities. But that was 2 years before the Heller decision said it was an individual right, and 4 years before the McDonald decision said that it applies to states and localities. This judge was way ahead of his time.
Absolutely.
And it was certainly something beneficial to the citizens of New Orleans. That litigation was concluded basically by a permanent injunction that they will never do that again, that they'll do everything they can to get the guns back to their owners. If you go to the New Orleans website right now, the city's website, you'll see that there's a procedure in place for getting your gun back.
Steve, do you know how many firearms at this point have not been returned to their original owners?
We don't have any idea. I suspect most of them have not been. First of all, a lot of them weren't even turned in by the police who seized them. One officer we interviewed said that if it was a good gun, they kept it. If it was junk, they threw it in the Mississippi River. And then the idea that all of these seized guns were there in the police lockup, over 1,000 of them, and a lot of the people fled. They never came back. And the guns, many of them, I saw them, were in very poor shape. They were rusty. But this cloud did have a silver lining. It was a wake-up call to America. And in the state of Louisiana and many other states and in the United States Congress, laws were passed to say, hey, we really mean it when we said that people have a right to keep and bear arms. That applies in emergencies and hurricanes and earthquakes and other natural disasters. That there's no emergency exception to people's Bill of Rights freedoms. Mm-hmm. At a time when people need their guns the most, you don't seize them. So we reached an understanding, I think, at the national level that many states, not even the kinds of states that passed pro-gun legislation, did so in this case. So there was some good that came out of it, but it's certainly a nightmare, again, to think back about those days when the flooding was going on and you're trying to get out of town or save your business, and an officer comes up to you, pointing a gun in your face, and takes your guns.
Well, absolutely. And Steve, do we ever find out definitively who gave the order to confiscate firearms from legal gun owners?
Well, the chief of police announced the order. Mayor Nagin always denied that he gave any such order. He said the chief did it on his own. But the answer really is no. But it was something that once it was given, the mayor certainly didn't dispute it or rescind it. So it was just a question of the police going wild. And I don't want to denigrate the officers who did their job correctly and didn't do things like that, but I mean, we all remember Patricia Coney's house, the little old lady, the sweet lady who police barged into her house, and it was being a television reporter was there, And she said, "I'm okay here. I'm fine. I have this little gun," and it was an old break open, looked like a break open Smith and Wesson to me, 100 years old. And they jumped her. They beat her up, and I think her lawsuit is still continuing for uh, the false arrest, excessive force, assault, and battery. And there are cases that still exist there that they're not necessarily. I cannot necessarily give you an update on them, but this has gone on and on. I guess maybe some viewers saw recent reports where police officers allegedly murdered people. So again, there was many fine officers who did their jobs, but it was a case where it was kind of a police state gone wild. It was something that we should never allow to happen in America.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Steve, I appreciate you coming on the program tonight, sir, and reminding us of what happened 5 years ago and the efforts that went into trying to return those guns. Again, I'm glad to say that 5 years later, we don't have any other case like this to talk about. And again, I think that is because of exactly as you said, the response in Louisiana, in countless other states, and at the federal level to spell it out that this is not acceptable, this is not American, this is not allowed.
Yeah, I think people should recognize the NRA is a primary civil rights organization in this country. I mean, if you look at what it did, we went down there, we got injunctions against this, and if you think about the idea that what more desperate situation can you be in than the flooding, a hurricane, people dying, and all you're trying to do is leave town and protect your family or maybe protect your business there. It doesn't get any more fundamental than that in terms of protection of your rights, your ability to protect your own life. And I'm just proud that the NRA did that. I'm proud to have been part of that team, and I think that the Americans ought to recognize the NRA for its great efforts in protecting our civil rights.
Well, we appreciate all that you've done, Steve. And again, have a good evening, sir. I know we'll be talking again very soon.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Steve Hallbrook, Second Amendment attorney and scholar, joining us here